an incredible setup here, incredible matchmaking, incredible storytelling. Oh, you had to come here. All these fighters that step in here are warriors, and all have my respect. And I'm into this game, yeah. We'll be into this, yeah.
And we are live here in the Maverick Center here in Salt Lake City. What a night. It is going to be historic indeed for BKFC 56.
Whoever's the king of violence right here, this is going to be a great fight.
Early on the target, right hand from my boy, double jab.
Who's the king of violence? I am!
Combat fighting in its purest form, bare knuckle fighting in the city of angels.
We've got the biggest announcement in the BKFC history we're about to make, so let's make that announcement.
What's up, Knucklemania? The notorious Conor McGregor here. Ladies and gentlemen, the huge announcement that I have for you today. Conor McGregor, myself, and McGregor Sports and Entertainment is now an owner of Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. Welcome to the big leagues. David Feldman, baby, we did it.
He's now an owner of BKFC with us, and we're going to take this motherfucking thing all the way to the top now.
Welcome to hour number 2, live right here on this Tuesday on the early line on SportsGrid and all across that SportsGrid network. He is Donnie right side. I am Ben Stevens. A ton of Olympic coverage comes your way in this second hour. We'll have a golf recap from Le Golf Nacional in the men's tournament, where Scotty Scheffler once again stands atop the world, atop the medal podium, a gold medal winner in historic and record-breaking fashion on Sunday. Keith Stewart will recap what we saw in the men's tourney and preview the women's tournament that starts on Wednesday at the Olympic Games. A big Tuesday where Sporting News' Bill Bender will join us to set the stage for the quarterfinal game for the United States men's national team on the hardwood against Team Brazil. So much to dive into here, DRS, but we start with NFL. We end with NFL. It's Win Total Tuesday here on the early line.
Yeah, that's going to be good to go over and, pick our brains here a little bit on where some of these teams we believe will end up. And quite frankly, we have a lot of preconceived notions coming into the season, but I do like the fact that preseason is here where maybe some things can change your opinion. Not actually when a team's going to win the Super Bowl because a third-round quarterback plays well, but it's just fun to see the young players that specifically on your favorite football team to step in and play. The Eagles, that's my team. They got a lot of young guns I want to see get after. I'm excited for Jalen Hurts. I want to see if CeeDee Lamb shows up for the Dallas Cowboys in training camp with a big payday. I want to see Jaden Daniels in his first career snap here to see how he handles that getting underway. So preseason, even though it is quite boring at times, there is some times that you still like and you say, you know what, that's pretty cool to see here. It's the young guys that you're watching out for.
Yeah, absolutely so. It's Hard Knocks Day as well that will follow the number 1 overall pick, Caleb Williams, and the Chicago Bears, the debut tonight on HBO. So we wanted to hear from the people in the conversation that Donnie and I just had. Will a team go undefeated in 2024? Will a team go winless around the National Football League in 2024? More than likely not. But if one of these rare phenomenons happens at some point in the NFL future, what happens first? 17-0, 0-17, at least 17 games in an 18-week regular season for the time being. That was the question to all of you out there in Fade the Public. At SportsGrid on Twitter, which will occur next in the NFL. A team goes undefeated or a team goes winless. Those were the two options, more than 120 votes, and the public is spot on. More than 76% of the public saying winless. That if this happens, a team will go 0-17 before a team goes 17-0.
It's pretty simple to understand where you can actively tank your own football games and your team, which means it gives you less of a chance to win. If everybody just tried their hardest, many more teams would go undefeated. And also, Ben, you sort of take this into like the backlot area, right? All throughout this landscape of time, we actually watch football games. I wonder if they're throwing this football game. I wonder if somebody has a hand in this game or they're point shaving, right, Ben? Nobody ever asked a point shave to say, you know what? I need you to go 10 of 10 from the three-point line today because I'm going to bet on you. No, what do they tell you, Ben? Go 0 for 10. You can hit the side of the backboard 10 times way easier than you can actually make 10 straight three-point shots. So it's so much easier to go winless because you can actually affect the game by your effort. If your football team actively isn't trying, now I don't blame the players for the most part at this point, but the general manager and the coach can tank your football team. Hey, you know what? Let's get a look-see at that four-string quarterback here, week 16. See how he handles the blitz against the number one team in the NFL. Stop the madness. Way easier to go winless, and that's why 76% of the public right now on this actual action, they're voting that way, and they should be.
Yeah, I would completely agree. So let's talk it by the numbers, not only in the history of the NFL, but what we have seen happen since we have added on that extra regular season game to get to 17. As Donnie said earlier, the Miami Dolphins, we wait every year for them to pop the champagne when that last undefeated team loses its first game around the National Football League. But in 72, when Miami was undefeated all the way to a Super Bowl championship in that unbeaten season, they only played 14 regular season games. The Patriots, of course, in 07 got oh so close but lost in a Super Bowl to Eli Manning in the New York Giants. But still a perfect 16-0. But that was way back in 2007. Way back sounds comical. It's nearly 2 decades ago. We have seen 4 teams go winless. You feel bad for the 1982 Colts to make this list in only 9 games, but they do. We have seen 2 teams in the last 15 years or so go winless, though. The 0-16 Detroit Lions in 2008, the 0-16 2017 Cleveland Browns. Donnie, since we have expanded to a 17-game regular season, the best record we have ever seen, the closest to perfection, Philadelphia, 14-3 in 2022, but still 3 losses. The closest we have seen to winless, last year, the Carolina Panthers, 2-15. We're still multiple wins or losses away from ever seeing an unbeaten or winless team. I don't know if this ever happens, but the public is correct. If it does ever happen, 0-17, much more on the horizon than 17-0.
And also understand this as well. Like when you are an unbeaten football team, the target on your back is so much bigger than a winless football team, right? It's like, oh, we're playing a winless team. What do you usually do that week during practice? I can't wait to get mine. This should be an easy victory. Maybe don't study as much on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday night. Maybe at the club a little bit extra hard on Thursday because you got an easy game this weekend. And let me tell you something here. A 14-0 football team rolls into your town where you're at home trying to play them. You best believe that entire organization is put on notice that the big bad bullies are coming to town, and you better be ready, which means those undefeated teams, 6-0, 7-0, 8-0, 9-0, they are getting the bullseye on their back, and everybody that play them wants to sit out there and go, you know, I hope it's Sunday night. I hope it's Monday Night Football. I hope the entire football universe watches us play this game because we want to upend this team and give them their first loss. So just from that perspective, you're getting the best punch on a week-to-week basis from everybody because they want to be the ones to turn that 0 into a 1.
Yeah, absolutely so. And that's really where things stand. And again, when you even continue the conversation for Carolina last year, an underdog in all 17 games, 2-15 straight up, but 4-11-2 against the spread. So you would even think a team booked as a dog couldn't even keep games close, and we still got 2 wins out of the Panthers. Again, for further perspective from the odds, we showed you that a team to go winless is still minus 2,100 to the no, that at least one team will win at least one game this year. For a team to go undefeated, minus 3,000 to the no. And Donnie, the lowest win total entering 2024 around the National Football League is the New England Patriots. It's 4.5. It's the lowest. It's abysmal, but the over still has the juice at minus 150, though. So the expected worst record is 4-13 or 5-12. Again, we're not going to see a winless team nor an undefeated side in 2024.
No, we're not. And you might, when we say like get close, like you might see a football team 0-13, 0-12.
Yeah,
They're
sure.
probably still going to win one of their last games. Because also keep in mind, nobody wants to be winless on the season. Like they're probably far and away the worst team. They're still going to get that number 1 overall pick. So then you say to the organization, like that final 4 weeks of the season, we got like 4 Super Bowls in a row to win one of these. Don't be that team that's embarrassing here. At least get one of these wins. Because again, it's not going to affect your draft status. Now, granted, if there are 2 teams that were winless heading into week 17, of course, people are going to try to tank because they want that number 1 overall pick. But if you have 1 win coming into week 15, you don't have any problems because the next closest team probably at least has 4 wins at that point here. So something just to keep an eye on. It's hard to fathom. It would be fun to watch as long as it's not your franchise going through that. But we'll see it play out that way. I don't think it's going to happen, but you never know.
We'll see if we can monitor things throughout this year. The Patriots have the second hardest schedule in the National Football League in 2024 and the lowest win total. Of course, those are correlated and coincide. But the Pats' start to the year, their first 6-7 games, grueling. Could we see an 0-7 team? For sure. 0-17, probably not the case. We recap Olympic golf in the men's tournament that led to Scotty Scheffler being a gold medal winner. Up next, you're on the early line.
Hopefully they learned their lesson. Hey, this ain't the NBA, bro. You don't have 6 fouls, and they will check you on this stuff. And Brooks has a reputation coming into this. You can tell the refs are watching them, and they were on him all the time.
This was 10, 12 years ago. Canada playing Greece with that type of lead that they had. They probably would have mentally crumbled and lost that game to Greece by 3 or 4 points in the final minute of that ball game.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Where are you at in terms of a starting lineup? What you want to see from Team USA?
I think he'll get guys involved, and then there's your lockdown defender at the point guard, the point of attack, right? I do like Curry. I would then go with Ant. I like Ant over Booker. I think if you look at the way the Canada game was, they looked kind of slow starting, and then they kind of got rolling.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
That race for the Cy Young, pretty much as equally compelling and intriguing as the race for the wild card spots in the National League.
And also keep in mind, this team doesn't pitch the entire season. So his ERA gets affected much, much more if he has a poor outing than, let's just say, Chris Sale or Zach Wheeler that's been there all season long. This would be a fun one to watch it play out. But the big loser last night were the Phillies and Zach Wheeler.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
However many units are on the line, however many people, however many cocktails, like it's a perfect scorecard. And someone questioned him on one hole. He's like, well, one thing I never get wrong is the scorecard. And then we're on like 13 and he's added up and he's like, this is wrong.
I looked back from number 13 and I'm like, I'm missing $140 somewhere. I don't know where I'm missing it. And I'm looking back and I'm like, no, yeah, it doesn't match up on 11. And I got to track it back to like number 7.
Only on SportsGrid.
Live right here on this Tuesday on the early line on SportsGrid. A recap of the opening weekend of Olympic golf over in Paris in the men's tournament. Before we get to the women's tournament that starts tomorrow over in France as well. We do that by welcoming on Keith Stewart, joining us here on TEL bright and early on this Tuesday morning. Keith, we appreciate the time as always. Thanks for being here.
Ben, Donnie, it's a pleasure. Paris 2 weeks in a row, the same golf course. Let's handicap this thing and figure out some more winners.
And it was record-setting on Sunday at Le Golf National, matching a course record. That was Scotty Scheffler. A final round 62, a final 9 on the back, 29, including 4 consecutive birds from 14 to 17, as Scotty Scheffler stands atop the medal podium with a gold medal around his neck. Keith, how did Scotty Scheffler accomplish this in record-setting fashion in Paris on Sunday?
Well, once again, Scotty Scheffler has asserted himself as the best player in the world. Guys, he lost strokes putting for the week at Le Golf National, and he still won by 1 and took home the gold medal. You know, I sat with Joe Ranieri, a good friend of ours, on SportsGrid on Saturday, Game Time Decisions, and he said, hey, what do you think? I said, well, I'm invested in Rahm, and I feel pretty good about that. But if I was going to take anybody at this point, I would take Scotty at plus 1,400. He's more than triple his odds to start the week, and we only have 1 round to go. And we have precedent for this. When you go back to Sawgrass, he shot 64 on Sunday to take that title away from Wyndham Clark and Xander Schauffele. You go back to API and Bay Hill, he shot 66 on a Sunday. Scotty is making a name for himself for these Sunday spectacular comebacks, and guys are paying attention to leaderboards more and more when he's in the field.
It's unbelievable to try to watch this too, Keith, because you take a look at 67, 69, 67, then 62. That was a phenomenal final round. But also, when we talk about like the pricing at the FanDuel Sportsbook, I sort of joked to myself, 5, 6, 7 shots back with, let's just say, a day and a half left in the golf tournament, and he's still priced right there as if he could win it. But he keeps providing this day after day. But the point I want to talk to you about is here, Scotty Scheffler, not a huge emotional guy, gets to the podium and breaks down there for what it meant to him here. That was an unbelievable run, and maybe he didn't anticipate on Saturday or early Sunday being in that position. Then it all hit him as once. A gold medal for him just to put on that mantle was fantastic.
Well, I tell you what, the Olympics, Donnie, it has really evolved over the years. We talked about this a lot last week. In 2016, we're sending Bubba Watson and Patrick Reed to these events. Now, all of a sudden, we have Xander, we have Scotty, we have Colin, we have Wyndham. We have these stars going, and it really actually means something to them. And once the golfers have bought in, obviously it meant something to Hideki. We saw Tom Kim move to tears because we know about the mandatory military service that he faces over in South Korea. These guys have really bought into this. And I think that Scotty, above all else, he had to be in a very emotional moment. I mean, think about the year he's been through. We forget about all of this because with the 7 wins, the gold medal, the green jacket, but he's the only guy I know in the top 10 in the world that spent time in jail this year. You know, he's the only one that had a mugshot. Imagine the emotional roller coaster he went through that day. I was there in Valhalla. I saw that press conference after he shot 66 and he warmed up in a jail cell. This guy has had an unbelievable season. And although, you know, some of the critics are going to want to say, well, it's not as good as Tiger. It's not this, it's not that. Tiger used to always win from the front. Scotty's doing a lot of winning from behind. And that's really unique in my mind and pretty special for what we get to see this year.
Yeah, it certainly is. And Keith, after we had the Open Championship where Xander Schauffele won his second major of the year as the champion golfer of the year, we compared the season resumes of who was the best this year in the world of golf. Scotty Scheffler, the green jacket at Augusta. 7 victories now if you include the Olympic gold medal. 6, of course, on the PGA Tour. 2 majors for Xander, 2 top 10 finishes in the other 2 major championships this year. In the 2021 Olympic gold medalist did finish top 10, this time over in Paris. Does the gold medal for Scotty Scheffler confirm that he is the golfer of this year?
Without a doubt, Ben. In my mind, yes. And, you know, you look at it, he's had 17 starts this year. If you include the Olympics, he has 11 top 5s. Now, 7 of those are wins, I get it, but he has 11 top 5s. Think about how consistent this guy has been event after event after event. But there is one thing hanging over his head. The last couple of years, he's gone in as the FedEx Cup leader to the final at Eastlake, and he hasn't pulled it off. He lost to Rory. He lost to Hovland. So at the end of the day, I think that Scotty wants to finish this thing off and leave no questions. But in my mind, it'd be tough for Xander to do anything but maybe win a couple playoff events and then take the FedEx Cup. In my mind, it's Scotty's to lose 100%.
Yeah, he's been absolutely fantastic. But if we do look at the podium there over in Paris, gold went to Scotty Scheffler, silver went to Tommy Fleetwood, bronze went to Hideki Matsuyama, when it looked like it was going to be Jon Rahm here of Spain to get that gold medal. How do you feel about that 1-2-3 finish? And also, what did happen to Jon Rahm?
Well, I tell you what, the Jon Rahm thing is interesting. all of a sudden, Liv is catching a lot of heat. Outside of Bryson, these guys are fading late in tournaments. Is the 3-round format that they play over there at Liv, is this causing these guys issues? Are they not getting the reps in that they need to go deep enough into tournaments? I mean, it wasn't like Rahm was playing bad. He shot 31 on the front, and then he went 39 on the back. He lost to Scotty by 10 strokes on the final 9 holes. He was up by 4 with 8 to go. I mean, there's a lot to look in the mirror about there. And you could see it on Rahm's face. When he double bogeyed the 14th hole, the par 5, you could see it. He knew he had lost that tournament, and he didn't know why. He's got to figure that out. And here's the thing. We won't be talking about Jon Rahm till the 2025 Masters, right? That's like 7 or 8 months away. So Rahm's got a lot of time to get back into it. But, boy, that was a huge disappointment, and you got to feel good about Fleetwood. And Matsuyama, he was there in 2021. He lost a heartbreak in a playoff for bronze, right, in his home country of Japan. He comes back and he wins bronze here, finishing well on those final 4 holes. You got to give it to Hideki.
Yeah, you certainly do. A bronze medal for Hideki Matsuyama. Tommy Fleetwood tested Scotty Scheffler down the stretch, finishes second, earning that silver medal. And Scotty Scheffler, a gold medal in the emotions that follow suit for representing his country atop the medal podium. What will we see this week over at Le Golf Nacional in the women's tournament in Olympic golf? There's been dominance at points this year from Scotty Scheffler. There's been utter dominance out of the American Nelly Korda. Does that continue in Paris? We'll break it down next.
Hopefully they learned their lesson. Hey, this ain't the NBA, bro. You don't have 6 fouls, and they will check you on this stuff. And Brooks has a reputation coming into this. You can tell the refs are watching them, and they were on him all the time.
This was 10, 12 years ago. Canada playing Greece with that type of lead that they had. They probably would have mentally crumbled and lost that game to Greece by 3 or 4 points in the final minute of that ball game.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Where are you at in terms of a starting lineup, what you want to see from Team USA?
I think he'll get guys involved, and then there's your lockdown defender at the point guard, the point of attack, right? I do like Curry. I would then go with Ant. I like Ant over Booker. I think if you look at the way the Canada game was, they looked kind of slow starting, and then they kind of got rolling.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
That race for the Cy Young, pretty much as equally compelling and intriguing as the race for the wild card spots in the National League.
And also keep in mind, this team doesn't pitch the entire season, so his ERA gets affected much, much more if he has a poor outing than, let's just say, Chris Sale or Zach Wheeler that's been there all season long. This would be a fun one to watch it play out, but the big loser last night were the Phillies and Zach Wheeler.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
However many units are on the line, however many people, however many cocktails, like it's a perfect scorecard. And someone questioned him on one hole. He's like, well, one thing I never get wrong is the scorecard. And then we're on like 13 and he's added up and he's like, this is wrong.
I looked back from number 13 and I'm like, I'm missing $140 somewhere. I don't know where I'm missing it. And I'm looking back and I'm like, no, yeah, it doesn't match up on 11. And I got to track it back to like number 7.
Only on SportsGrid.
The men's golf tournament at the Olympic Games in Paris, sensational. That final round Sunday, as dramatic as you will find all around the sport. Keith Stewart back for a second consecutive segment. And Keith, we heard that sentiment from Rory McIlroy, who I thought made a great point after the final round on Sunday. Of course, he's been a figurehead for everything that's happening in the world of golf, often taking shade because of it, saying with how much of a blank show the sport of golf has been the last 2 years, to see the emotions of these guys out there on Sunday at Le Golf National without a $3 million check on the other side, just the pride of representing your country. It was the beauty of why we play sport. I think we should see the same this week in the women's golf tournament that starts tomorrow at the same course. So, Keith, it's the same course. It's Le Golf National. What's the format like for the women's tournament that starts tomorrow?
Ben, we have a beautiful setup for this. It's, I guess, since Japan in 2021, or when they played the women's and the men's open back-to-back in 2014 at Pinehurst, we haven't had this opportunity to handicap the golf course with a professional event the week before another professional event comes in. The ladies are going to play the golf course at a par 72. The men were a par 71. It's 6,374 yards, so it's much shorter, but of course it's appropriate for their driving distance and for the length of golf courses that they normally play. It's 60 women in the field, just like the men, 4 rounds, 72 holes of stroke play, no cut. The top 3, they get a medal. We've done this before. That's the routine.
Taking a look here also at Nelly Korda as the favorite here. She had one of the more unbelievable stretches in golf. I mean, mirroring Scottie Scheffler at that point, and maybe even better. 6 out of 7 wins, but technically struggling as of late entering into the Olympics. Are we worried about the Nelly Korda we saw about earlier in the season that was dominating, or maybe the Nelly Korda that technically we're getting now over the past month and a half?
DRS, I am very worried. In these elite events, Nelly has not shown up since she won that 6th time there in Jersey City, right near all of us. She went into the U.S. Open with a bad miscut. And then, of course, she came right back into a regular season event, the Meyer, with another miscut. And then another event, she goes to the KPMG Women's, and she shoots in the 60s in the first round, and then she misses the cut. So she has definitely had a lot of question marks around here. She goes over to the Evian, which is their 4th major of the year in France, and she finishes T26, but she didn't look strong. And the thing that gives me huge pause about her this week in playing well and defending her gold medal, remember, she was the gold medal winner in 2021 in Japan, is her approach game. She's been excellent off the tee. And one of the things that's unknown about Nelly is that she has a really, really good short game, one of the top 5 on tour. But her approach game has been off. And as we saw with the guys, you miss here, you miss these greens in the wrong spots, and it got really challenging really quick. And the golf course, the way they set it up, the Olympic Golf Committee, they did an excellent, excellent job. A fifth of the field had 20 subpar scores or more for the men, right? But yet they had a bunch of guys that finished over par. That is a perfect setup for us. So for Nelly, she's going to have to ratchet down that approach game and get her iron game on target.
Nelly Korda booked from the odds makers' perspective, almost similar to Scottie Scheffler, 4-1, $5 in front of the rest of the field at the Olympic Women's Golf Tournament. So, Keith, outside of Nelly Korda, who are some names to keep an eye on with the odds associated this week over in Paris?
Nelly Korda is number 1 in the world. I'm going to go with her American counterpart at number 2, Lilia Vu. When accuracy matters, Lilia Vu gets it done. In major championships, in regular golf tournaments, she's fully healed from her spring injury. She's already won once this year, and she's one of the best putters there in the LPGA. So I love her at 10-1 or plus 1,000. And of course, if we're going to talk accuracy again and on a global stage, Jin Young Ko at plus 1,400. I love her opportunity as well. You know, she gets a lot of flack because she's not super long off the tee. This golf course is 100 yards shorter than the one they played last week at the Portland Classic. And that was the Portland Classic, guys. They want these ladies to attack this golf course and shoot subpar scores. One last one for you, Lydia Ko at plus 4,000, and that number's dropping quickly. I'd get on it. She has 2 medals to her name in 2 Olympics, and she's going for gold this time to fill out the trifecta.
Lilia Vu, last year on the LPGA Tour, the Player of the Year, 4 titles, 2 major championships. You saw there a 9-1 price behind Nelly Korda as well, trying to represent the United States on the medal podium this week over in Paris. Keith Stewart, we appreciate the time. Thank you for joining us here, as always, on this Tuesday on the Early Line.
Guys, it's a pleasure to be with you. Let's do Paris all over again. Saturday, wrap it up. So make sure you pay attention to the schedule.
Make sure you get in early. Tournament starts tomorrow. More Olympic assessments up next on TEL.
Hopefully they learned their lesson. Hey, this ain't the NBA, bro. You don't have 6 fouls, and they will check you on this stuff. And Brooks has a reputation coming into this. You can tell the refs are watching them, and they were on him all the time.
This was 10, 12 years ago. Canada playing Greece with that type of lead that they had. They probably would have mentally crumbled and lost that game to Greece by 3 or 4 points in the final minute of that ball game.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Where are you at in terms of a starting lineup, what you want to see from Team USA?
I think he'll get guys involved, and then there's your lockdown defender at the point guard, the point of attack, right? I do like Curry. I would then go with Ant. I like Ant over Booker. I think if you look at the way the Canada game was, they looked kind of slow starting, and then they kind of got rolling.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
That race for the Cy Young, pretty much as equally compelling and intriguing as the race for the wild card spots in the National League.
And also keep in mind, this team doesn't pitch the entire season, so his ERA gets affected much, much more if he has a poor outing than, let's just say, Chris Sale or Zach Wheeler that's been there all season long. This would be a fun one to watch it play out, but the big loser last night were the Phillies and Zach Wheeler.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
However many units are on the line, however many people, however many cocktails, like it's a perfect scorecard. And someone questioned him on one hole. He's like, well, one thing I never get wrong is the scorecard. And then we're on like 13 and he's added up and he's like, this is wrong.
I looked back from number 13 and I'm like, I'm missing $140 somewhere. I don't know where I'm missing it. And I'm looking back and I'm like, no, yeah, it doesn't match up on 11. And I got to track it back to like number 7.
Only on SportsGrid.
A huge day over in Paris on the hardwood. The United States men's national team, looking for its 5th consecutive gold medal in basketball, will play a quarterfinal game today against Brazil. To help you get set for it, from Sporting News, Bill Bender joins us here on this Tuesday on the early line. Bill, we appreciate the time. Thank you for being here for a Tuesday Olympic assessment of everything we need to know over in France.
Well, Ben, good to be on with you. I'm so used to being on with you and talking Iowa, Rutgers, or Michigan
100%.
State. We're going to have to try Brazil, Team USA today. Let's go for it.
We will. And I know that is a huge disappointment to Donnie that we're not diving through Big Ten football at this moment, but it is okay. The Olympic Games, a wonderful substitute. So, Bill, 4 quarterfinal games today in Paris in men's basketball. In the opener of this Tuesday, Germany knocks out Greece 76-63. The Germans stay perfect in Olympic action. The Americans looking to follow suit later this afternoon against the Brazilians. 3:30 p.m. Eastern time tip here stateside in the United States. A hefty favorite in this matchup against Brazil. 26.5 points. The total at 184 and a hook. How do you think the Americans, Bill, will perform against Brazil today in Paris?
Well, I mean, they're 9-0 all time against Brazil, so let's not think that they're going to lose. I think Team USA has looked good enough. I mean, if we're talking against the spread, 1-2 against the spread in the Olympics, these are huge spreads, though. I was saying to Craig last week, it reminded me of, Florida State and Akron. Not picking on Akron, sorry. But, I mean, a huge spread that they're tough to cover if they're not up big in the first half, because that other team is able to fight on that. I think Bruno Caboclo is obviously worth watching. Had a huge 33 points, 18 rebounds against Japan, and you wonder how he'll perform against Team USA. But it's too much depth, too much, size, And it doesn't really matter which guys Steve Kerr play. I know a lot's been written about that. I think they just have too much with a different guy going off each game. It was Anthony Edwards in the last one with 26 points. It's going to be tough to beat Team USA here.
Take a look at a couple of the games also underway right now. Australia and Serbia, 54-42 right now. Australia does have that 12-point lead. Canada and France a little bit later at 12 noon Eastern. Then we have Team USA taking on Brazil at 3:30. As you pointed out, that large spread. How do we figure the game flow, Bill, is going to go in this? Because now we're in the knockout stage. Are we cutting down some of our rotations for Team USA? Much more of a defensive effort locked in? How do you see this game playing out that way?
Well, I mean, three-point shooting dictates so much when I watch a basketball game anymore. You know, Brazil shot the three very well against Japan, and that's why they won the game. So Team USA, they're going to shoot a lot of threes, between 25 and 30. I'm wondering if this isn't the game where Steph Curry gets back on track. And he obviously has struggled a little bit in these Olympics. I think 5 of 19 from three-point range in the 3 games. But if Steph Curry were to get going in the first half, maybe hit 2 or 3 three-pointers, I think the entire team would feed off that. When you have 4 or 5 guys hitting double figures anyway, that's one of those things. And it helps you throw an early knockout when you're knocking down those shots. You saw what Kevin Durant did in the first game. So, I mean, three-point shooting can dictate whether or not Brazil stays in this game. They're going to shoot 30 to 40 of them. But and that might not even be enough. They could shoot 55% from three-point range and still lose the game.
The intensity ramps up here in the knockout stages, trying to get to the medal round with a victory. Bill, we just showed some of the props for today's game between the U.S. and Brazil. You mentioned Steph Curry, 2.5 made three-pointers is his prop, the highest points prop for the U.S. Kevin Durant at 15.5 points. Anthony Edwards, 26 to lead all scores against Puerto Rico. His number 13.5. Outside of Steph, who for the United States steps up today against the Brazilians?
Well, take your pick between Ant, who had the big game, obviously, but you know the way this works. These guys share the ball and they share the love, and they, you know, just because Ant had 26 last game doesn't mean he does that there. I think LeBron's been pretty steady. I would go there as well. You know, LeBron, knowing it's the medal round, knowing it's the urgency, I could see him scoring 14 to 18 points in this game, especially knowing what Caboclo did. I mean, that was 33 points in a game. That was pretty amazing for Brazil. So I look for, if I'm hitting one of those props, I think I'm going to go LeBron, maybe Ant, but and then Durant, we'll see. But I mean, LeBron James looks good. Steph Curry, I'm going to take a stab at that one. And then, you know, Embiid got back on track as well. I mean, 10-6, that's not very hard in a game like this.
Taking a look here and flipping over from the basketball court onto the pitch. Team USA's men's soccer team has been eliminated. They are back home, but the women's team looking to advance here. You take a look at USA and Germany just to advance. Heavy favorite for Team USA at a minus 245 price. An unbelievable goal by Trinity Rodman pushed them through. What are the expectations today from Team USA going up against Germany on the pitch?
Well, I think they're winning, and what I'm kind of watching is this, you know, the beginning of, if Team USA gets through, which I think they will, and you could maybe hit the over on that one as well. Does it set up a matchup against Spain, which I really believe could be our next gen rivalry? You know, Spain has really come on the women's soccer scene. They were able to win the World Cup. They've advanced in this first Olympics. They've looked really good. They beat Team USA for the first time in a friendly in 2022. So if Team USA gets through today, plays Spain in that gold medal match, that's a lot of fun to me, because it'll carry over. And that women's team, at least for me personally, I've been looking for them to have a true rival, one that could go through a decade and really help grow the sport. And I think Spain might be that team. I say all that and watch Brazil upset them.
It will be a fascinating game today for Team USA. Again, those are the odds as of this moment just to advance, minus 280 for the Americans. They will, if they win, take on Spain. And like you mentioned, Bill, the Spaniards get a draw against Brazil. But Spain, a hefty favorite to also advance to the gold medal match at minus 355. So now we go to the odds to win that gold medal. Spain plus 125, 40 cents in front of the United States at plus +165. It's what the odds makers want. I think it's what the fans want to see in that gold medal match in the women's soccer tournament. Bill, how could you describe the stakes of what that gold medal match could be if it is the United States against Spain?
Well, I think today could dictate that maybe those lines push closer together, and you get almost a what would be a virtual pick'em on the football side. I'm sorry, I always compare everything to football, but it's just habit. And it could definitely make this game that much more interesting. I would take the value in Team USA there. It's going to be tough. It's a really hard match. You know, Spain has only given up like 1 goal before the medal round where they had the shootout with Colombia. They're a really good team, and I think it'd just be a lot of fun to watch. Like for me, I love great rivalries. You guys know that, and I think that could be the start of one here on the women's soccer side.
Let's have a little bit of fun with this, Bill. Watching the Olympics so far over the past week, there's been a lot of big highlights here. What's the best highlight that you've taken away so far from the Olympic Games?
That's almost an impossible question, but I got drawn into Grant Fisher last week in the 10,000-meter run. And, you know, I ran track in high school. I ran sprints. There's no way I could run 10,000 meters, first of all. But to see him hang in there and the way they push at the end and just the amazing – when I watch a race like that, I'm so astounded at how they're running at a – I don't think I could run that fast for 50 meters, and they're doing that for 10,000 meters. And the way that he was able to medal in that event, which is very, very difficult. I mean, there's obviously been Simone Biles, Katie Ledecky, everything else that's gone on. But for some reason, maybe it was the time of day and I just caught in watching it. That one's going to stick with me for a long time.
Yeah, it's very cool stuff. The fact that we get these throughout the afternoon hours. Maybe you're working out there, maybe you're covering it, but you get to tune in and see what is happening over in the Paris Olympic Games during the afternoon. Fall in love with sports that you've never seen. The chaotic world of kayaking that we have seen in the last little bit this week as well has been sensational. Bill Bender from Sporting News, we appreciate the time. Thank you for being here on this Tuesday on the Early Line.
Hey, no problem, guys. Thanks so much.
We turn our attention to National Football League. It's Win Total Tuesday. Up next here on SportsGrid.
Hopefully they learned their lesson. Hey, this ain't the NBA, bro. You don't have 6 fouls, and they will check you on this stuff. And Brooks has a reputation coming into this. You can tell the refs are watching them, and they were on him all the time.
This was 10, 12 years ago. Canada playing Greece with that type of lead that they had. They probably would have mentally crumbled and lost that game to Greece by 3 or 4 points in the final minute of that ball game.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Where are you at in terms of a starting lineup? What you want to see from Team USA?
I think he'll get guys involved, and then there's your lockdown defender at the point guard, the point of attack, right? I do like Curry. I would then go with Ant. I like Ant over Booker. I think if you look at the way the Canada game was, they looked kind of slow starting, and then they kind of got rolling.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
That race for the Cy Young, pretty much as equally compelling and intriguing as the race for the wild card spots in the National League.
And also keep in mind, this team doesn't pitch the entire season, so his ERA gets affected much, much more if he has a poor outing than, let's just say, Chris Sale or Zach Wheeler that's been there all season long. This would be a fun one to watch it play out, but the big loser last night were the Phillies and Zach Wheeler.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
However many units are on the line, however many people, however many cocktails, like it's a perfect scorecard. And someone questioned him on one hole. He's like, well, one thing I never get wrong is the scorecard. And then we're on like 13 and he's added up and he's like, this is wrong.
I looked back from number 13 and I'm like, I'm missing $140 somewhere. I don't know where I'm missing it. And I'm looking back and I'm like, no, yeah, it doesn't match up on 11. And I got to track it back to like number 7.
Only on SportsGrid.
Win total Tuesday in Donnie's neck of the woods. It's a focus on the NFC East, a division that has been very difficult to handicap for the last 2 decades, or maybe not so difficult because of a long-standing trend in this division around the National Football League. DRS, here are the 4 teams, of course, in the NFC East. The Eagles have the highest win total. It's been on the rise throughout the offseason at 10.5. The Cowboys have dipped a little bit. 9 and a hook, the number for the boys. The Commanders at 6.5, alongside the New York Giants at 6 and a hook as well. The Giants, the longest price of the 4 teams in this division to win a divisional crown. When this market opened up, Dallas was the favorite to win the NFC East. Philadelphia making some shrewd moves throughout this offseason. The additions of Saquon Barkley, adding back to their coordinating staff. Kellen Moore on the offensive side. Vic Fangio, the DC now in the city of brotherly love under Nick Sirianni. Those odds have flipped. The Birds an odds-on favorite to win the NFC East for a second time in 3 years. And that is the long-standing trend in the NFC East where we begin. Since 2004, nearly 2 decades of NFL action, we have not seen a repeat back-to-back divisional title winner in the NFC East in that entire nearly 20-year span. The Eagles won the division in 2022. The Cowboys won the division in 2023, a season ago, which would make it seem like a safe bet to bet Philadelphia to win the NFC East.
Let's let the shots, start to fire right now as you take a look at the NFC East. Well, the Philadelphia Eagles, yeah, they're in the East. Washington Commanders, yeah, they're in the East too. You take a look at the Giants, they're in the East. Oh, yeah, Dallas, when were they ever in the East? They should be banished out of this actual division. But again, I'm not going to let my Philadelphia Eagles fandom here take over this conversation. But I do believe the Philadelphia Eagles are the better team here. The one thing we do know is Dallas is still talented. As we take a look at the upper echelon 2 teams here in the NFC East. The Eagles, for me, and also you have to take a look at this. Where did it go wrong last year? They crashed down the stretch in embarrassing effort all the way through. But I think we were probably looking at the previous year before when the Eagles went to the World Championship game and played the Kansas City Chiefs and lost. You take a look at that game from the Super Bowl and you say, all right, you're going to lose your offensive coordinator and your defensive coordinator late. They went with picks that didn't work out at all, and the defense looked like they played with their heads cut off for the final 6 games, and quite frankly, the same thing with the offense. You go out and get veteran presences in the room, Kellen Moore for the offensive side, Vic Fangio for the defensive side. I think that's going to help. You also took care of your players. The year before, you got Jalen Hurts signed up here. You got A.J. Brown. You got Devontae Smith. Everybody is happy in the room. The one disgruntled guy got shipped off as your defensive end, Hassan Reddick, out to the New York Jets. He's gone and still holding out, racking up millions of dollars in fines. The reason I bring this is it looks like you're heading into the season in the right direction. You had Saquon Barkley. That offense should be potent here. The vibes are good. Jalen Hurts is having a great training camp. Flip it over to the Dallas Cowboys. And I can't say this enough. We're going all in, which meant typically like, oh, my goodness. I can't wait to see, Ben, what the Dallas Cowboys do this offseason. All it means, like, we're going to re-up CeeDee Lamb. We're going to add another dominant wide receiver. We're going to hit that free agent market to get it. But maybe even Saquon Barkley goes to the Dallas Cowboys because you lost Pollard here. We're also going to take care of Dak Prescott to lower his cap number so we can load that defense up and get ready for it. You also have to keep in mind, as I just said, the Eagles changing coordinators probably for the better this year. Dan Quinn was one of the best defensive coordinators in the National Football League, no longer with the Dallas Cowboys now. You also take a look at your head coach. When you stand in front of a room and a head coach has a long-term deal, that image that he has up there and also his words are going to penetrate you by saying, I probably will be here longer than you. How about Mike McCarthy? Lame duck coach could be fired midseason if things don't go the right direction. If we're just looking at what happened in the offseason and the vibes heading into the season, it's all been terrible for the Cowboys and all positive for the Philadelphia Eagles.
It's a great point. The vibe's one thing. The investment behind it, though, is another. Philly has paid everybody. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Landon Dickerson. Everybody is happy. Saquon Barkley added to an already potent offensive scheme where Jalen Hurts will learn under Kellen Moore. Vic Fangio, I think, is the best defensive mind in the sport of football at the National Football League level. It did not work out in Miami. He's a South Jersey guy. guy around the Philly area, closer to home, I think it's a great move. And Nick Sirianni takes his knocks because he's that CEO style of head coach, not intimately involved in the game planning or the schematics, has to trust the guys in doing so. I think the Eagles have gotten so much better this offseason at the coordinator positions once again. When Matt Patricia is your DC for any notable amount of time last year, things not good for the Birds. And Donnie, Philly was 10-1 through week 12, stumbling down the stretch, of course. They dropped 5 of their final 6 games to allow the Cowboys to win the division. We'll talk about Dallas's win total here in just a moment. But in the last 2 years, even with that disaster ending to a season ago, the Birds still over 10.5, and the over does have the juice at -144. We mentioned it earlier. The Eagles had the best record in the National Football League in 2022, 14-3. I think Philly is correctly booked to win the NFC East. I've bet them. I think Philly has the correct win total at 10.5. I think it's still worth a bet. 11 wins certainly seems in play at bare minimum. I think the Eagles are worth a bet at +550, tied for the second best number to win an NFC championship alongside Detroit, only behind San Francisco. I'm incredibly optimistic about this Eagles team entering this season. I think the odds have reflected the investment that this offseason has seen for Philadelphia. I believe in the Birds entering 2024.
Yeah, and also coming out of training camp right now, Jalen Hurts looks effective. Now, I understand, like, hey, coming into the best shape of my life, you get that. He was banged up a little bit by that knee injury. If he's healthy and back to the way he played during that 2022 season, that's going to help. And also, you're looking at wide receivers. A.J. Brown, we know, is in his prime, but Devontae Smith is scraping, the top of that ceiling of what he can technically be. It's going to be up to see who's going to be that third wide receiver. It's going to be Paris Campbell out of the slot. Or how about this? The young Mr. 6'6", 6'7" Wilson out of Florida State has been shining in that Eagles training camp, so some fun to look forward to there. But I do look at this way for the Cowboys. They still are extremely talented. Dak Prescott is a very good regular season quarterback. Sure. CeeDee Lamb, if he shows up again, I do believe CeeDee Lamb is going to get that long-term deal. He's hell on wheels out there. So if you look at the Dallas Cowboys, it would be stunning if they won less than 9 games this year, which means at the end of the season, they're going to be right there neck and neck with the Philadelphia Eagles, as they should be.
For sure.
But if we're just looking at overall ability of teams here and looking towards the future, I think the Eagles get that nod.
We talk about them boys. A Dallas discussion next.
Hopefully they learned their lesson. Hey, this ain't the NBA, bro. You don't have 6 fouls, and they will check you on this stuff. And Brooks has a reputation coming into this. You can tell the refs are watching them, and they were on him all the time.
This was 10, 12 years ago. Canada playing Greece with that type of lead that they had. They probably would have mentally crumbled and lost that game to Greece by 3 or 4 points in the final minute of that ball game.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Where are you at in terms of a starting lineup, what you want to see from Team USA?
I think he'll get guys involved, and then there's your lockdown defender at the point guard, the point of attack, right? I do like Curry. I would then go with Ant. I like Ant over Booker. I think if you look at the way the Canada game was, they looked kind of slow starting, and then they kind of got rolling.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
That race for the Cy Young, pretty much as equally compelling and intriguing as the race for the wild card spots in the National League.
And also keep in mind, this team doesn't pitch the entire season, so his ERA gets affected much, much more if he has a poor outing than, let's just say, Chris Sale or Zach Wheeler that's been there all season long. This would be a fun one to watch it play out, but the big loser last night were the Phillies and Zach Wheeler.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
However many units are on the line, however many people, however many cocktails, like, it's a perfect scorecard. And someone questioned him on one hole. He's like, well, one thing I never get wrong is the scorecard. And then we're on like 13 and he's added up and he's like, this is wrong.
I looked back from number 13 and I'm like, I'm missing $140 somewhere. I don't know where I'm missing it. And I'm looking back and I'm like, no, it doesn't match up on 11. And I got to track it back to like number 7.
Only on SportsGrid.
At some point this summer, throughout the offseason, into training camp, and ahead of the 2024 NFL regular season, every sports talk show you will see or hear in the world will have this discussion. What are the Dallas Cowboys going to do in 2024? 9.5 is the win total for Dallas. The over has the juice. That would make sense. The Cowboys have won 12 games, a 12-5 record each of the past 3 regular seasons. 2 NFC East titles in 2021 and in 2023. Again, we flip-flop. We have not seen a repeat divisional champion in the NFC East since 2004. Donnie, the Cowboys conversation starts with a win total, but really it goes to that next price, an 8-1 number to win the NFC Championship, because there is no doubt, despite a shaky offseason right now for Dallas, lack of investment in a Dak Prescott or CeeDee Lamb or the head coach in Mike McCarthy, and uncertain times at the Star, they're still going to be good in the regular season. I don't think you or I are predicting they will finish with a losing record or perhaps even less than double-digit wins. But the Cowboys season, and a successful one, is judged by one thing. Did they play for a Super Bowl? And since 1995, the answer has resoundingly been no. Does that change this year in Dallas?
No, it doesn't change this year in Dallas. And it's not just because we're going to bet on a trend that says, and I always like to joke about it, like, I don't care how talented the Cowboys are. It's the Cowboys. They never win in the playoffs or can advance anywhere, so you just can't take them. We understand being handicappers. This is a year-to-year thing. We have to throw those recency biases out the window, even if they aren't so recent, and go back all the way to the mid-1990s. But if you look at the team in itself, the core of it is you're only going to go as far as your quarterback takes you. And in the regular season, if you have an above-average quarterback, which Dak Prescott is, you're going to win football games just by default. And it's not like they're devoid of talent. Now, granted, they did expect Tony Pollard to be there long-term. That injury sort of slowed him down a bit, hits the free agent trail, heads out and plays for the Titans now. You still have Cooks, you still have Lamb. If he shows up at the camp, and I believe he will, there's no way Dallas is heading into this regular season with CeeDee Lamb not taken care of and in camp. So the semblance of a good offense is still there. The defense, they got 2 headhunters on the outside. Like, how do you win in the football league? Give me 2 good cornerbacks, Diggs and Bland. Give me 2 amazing pass rushers, Lawrence and Parsons. That's the basis of a great defense, and also having a quarterback that can win games. So when I see that number at 9.5, score. You want to be a Dallas hater and say, look, they had a terrible offseason, but they still have the semblance of a very good team in the regular season. Do I think they can win the NFC? No, I don't. Do I think they're going to win the NFC East? No, I don't think that. But that doesn't mean they can't approach 10 wins on the season and still, as you said, be above 500. It would be shocking. And again, outside of devastating injuries, let's just say to Dak Prescott, we are expecting them in the final couple weeks of the season to still be in the mix for the NFC East and a playoff spot, which means there is a chance if you get into the tournament that you can make a deep run and make it to the NFC Championship. I just think, again, and I can't overstate this enough, it's very odd for the Dallas Cowboys. More money under the sun, can just stroke a couple checks here, get themselves $30 to $40 million under the cap, get more players in town. That's typically what they do. I was just astounded that they took this game plan. Also, like, what happens now if you do sign CeeDee Lamb? Which he was making a decent amount in the final year of his rookie deal, or in that rookie deal where he can get extended, you probably would lower his cap number. But the biggest one is, like, let's just say they do come to an agreement with Dak Prescott over the next 2 weeks. The point was, do that back in February, where you can now slot some of that money that you saved on the cap for other players to bring in. It was just a complete shamble off season, which is why a lot of people aren't high right now on the Dallas Cowboys to start with, Ben.
The vibes are sour, and it's been reflected in the odds. Again, Dallas opened in the market in the NFC East with a disastrous end of the year for Philadelphia, and the Cowboys winning the division as the favorites to win this division with a double-digit win total. And they're still favored to get to double digits. 9.5, again, the number. The over has the juice, nearly $1.50 on the over of 9 and a hook. And, Donnie, I wouldn't take your money. I wouldn't take Friezo's money. I wouldn't take Kevin's money. I wouldn't bet it on the Cowboys to do anything worth of note in the postseason. I would never bet on Dallas to win the NFC Championship or a Super Bowl, at least not until I see it. Would I bet on the Cowboys to be a double-digit win team? Sure. Would I bet on the Cowboys to contend for the NFC East? Absolutely. Philly's not going to win this division with a 9-8 record because everybody else stinks. Dallas is going to be at least a 10-win football team, if not better. But the Cowboys last won a Lombardi Trophy, which is the standard of excellence at the Star in 1995. In the nearly 30 years since, Dallas has made 13 playoff appearances. And in all 13 postseason trips, the Cowboys have not advanced past the divisional round or even played in an NFC championship. So why would I bet them to win a conference title? I won't. And that's the Dallas story until something changes there in the Lone Star State. Win Total Tuesday continues when Hour 3 gets here after the break.